So let's talk about something you've probably heard a million times, maybe even argued about yourself. Is psychology really a science? It's this huge, controversial question, and today we're going to dive right in and see if we can figure it out. I mean, that's the core of the debate, isn't it? On one side, you've got brain scans, statistical analysis, controlled experiments, all the stuff that looks and feels like real science. But on the other side, you're dealing with feelings, thoughts, and biases, things that can feel kind of fuzzy. So, what's the real story here? To get to the bottom of this, we're going to go on a little investigative journey together. First, we'll lay down the law with the scientific blueprint. Then, it will explore how psychology is a science of many faces. After that, we'll get into the tricky stuff with psychology's challenges, see how it's a science with a conscience, and finally, we'll reach our final verdict. Let's do it. Okay, first up, the scientific blueprint. Before we can even start to judge psychology, we have to be clear on what it actually says it is. What's the mission statement? And here it is, the textbook definition. Now, don't let your eyes glaze over. There are two magic words in here that are absolutely key: systematic and empirical. This tells you right away that this isn't about just sitting in a coffee shop and watching people. It's about having a real, evidence-based plan. And this is so cool because it shows you the two sides of what psychologists are looking at. You've got behavior, the stuff you can actually see and measure. That's the hard data. But then you have the mental processes, all that internal stuff like thoughts and feelings. You can't see a thought, so you have to make a smart guess, an inference, based on the data you can see. It's like being a detective for the mind. And let's just quickly break down those magic words. Systematic is just a fancy way of saying you have a plan. You follow clear steps, you don't just wing it. And empirical means you have to base your ideas on actual observations and data from the real world, not just a gut feeling or what you think is true. So here's the bottom line for this section. Psychology's claim to being a science isn't about its subject matter. It's about its methods. It's a toolkit, a set of rules for asking questions and testing ideas about the mind in a rigorous way. All right, section 2. And this is where things get really interesting. Because a huge reason people get tripped up on this whole "is it a science" question is that they think of psychology as this one single thing. But it's not. It's really not. I love this idea of psychology as a hub science. Picture it like a major airport hub. You've got flights coming in from the hard biological sciences, connecting with flights from the social sciences, and even routes that go all the way to the humanities. It sits right in the middle of everything, connecting all these different ways of understanding the world. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? This diversity is incredible. It's what gives the field its power. But you can also see how it causes confusion. What a neuroscientist in a lab coat is doing looks totally different from what a therapist is doing in their office. Yet we call it all psychology. And just to give you a taste of what we're talking about, you've got biological psychology looking at brain chemicals, cognitive psychology studying how we remember things, developmental psych looking at how we grow up, social psych, how we act in groups. It's this huge, sprawling family of different approaches all under one big roof. Okay, so we've established that psychology wants to be a science and that it's this big, diverse field. But now we've got to get into the juicy stuff, the real challenges, the things that make people raise an eyebrow and ask if it's real. The plot definitely thickens here. And this question right here, this is the million-dollar question. It's one thing for a physicist to measure the weight of an atom. That's pretty straightforward. But how on earth do you put a hard objective number on something as messy and personal as stress, or love, or intelligence? This leads us to our first huge hurdle: conceptual vagueness. Think about a word like resilience. We all kind of know what it means, but what does it actually mean? How do you measure it? The way you decide to define that fuzzy concept is going to completely shape the results of your experiment. It's not as simple as putting something on a scale. And then there's this mind-bending problem called reflexivity. Think about it. A chemist studies chemicals, a biologist studies cells, but a psychologist is a human being using their own human brain to study other human beings. The observer and the observed are the same kind of thing. We share the same biases and blind spots. It's like trying to see your own eyeball without a mirror. True, perfect objectivity becomes almost impossible. And as if that wasn't enough, you have to deal with just the sheer complexity of it all. Any single action you take is influenced by your genes, your childhood, your culture, what you ate for breakfast. It's a giant web of causes. Plus, those different subfields we talked about, their theories don't always play nicely together, making one big, unified theory of psychology pretty much a pipe dream for now. But wait a minute. We've been talking about all these challenges as if they're flaws. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if psychology's connection to messy human stuff isn't a bug, but a core feature? What if it's meant to be a science with a conscience? And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got two sides of the same coin. There's the academic side, which is all about the pure pursuit of knowledge, figuring out how things work just for the sake of it. But then there's the applied side, which takes that knowledge and says, okay, how can we use this to actually help people live better lives? And you really can't have one without the other. So, and this is so important, psychology can't just pretend to be in some sterile, value-free lab. The very questions it asks are shaped by our values as a society. Defining what's normal is a huge judgment call with real consequences. And the knowledge it creates can be used for good or for bad. It has a massive ethical weight to it. This science has a conscience, whether it wants to or not. All right, Section 5, the grand finale. We've looked at its blueprint, its many different faces, the incredible challenges it faces, and its deep ethical core. I think it's time to bring it all home and finally answer the big question. So let's just ask it one more time. After everything we've talked about, is psychology a real science? The answer? Yes, absolutely. It's a science. But, and this is a huge but, it's a mistake to judge it by the same standards we use for physics. It's a human science, a messy science, and all those unique challenges we talked about, they aren't signs that it's broken, they're features of what it is. So if you're going to remember just a few things from our time together, let it be these. 1. Psychology is a science because of its systematic, evidence-based methods. 2. It's a massively diverse hub science. 3. Its biggest challenges are actually what make it unique. And 4. It is and always will be a science tied directly to human values. And you know, maybe that's the real takeaway here. Maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Instead of asking, does psychology fit into this neat little box we've labeled science? Maybe the better question is, what do we as humans need this powerful, complicated human science to be for us? All the ideas we explored in this deep dive were inspired by excerpts from the foundations and architecture of modern psychology. Thanks so much for hanging out and puzzling through this with me.